Hello, 1, 2, and 3. It's May. Hello, Avon calling.
Hello.
Hello, it's your dream wife calling.
Hi, it's your dream wife.
Don't
Do you need more sound on me? Oh,
Don't
good.
you want a dream
So is this
wife?
too much when I do this? Oh, interesting. So I can get real, but this is okay too?
A device that captures the sound of your voice that comes out of your mouth.
Oh my God.
It's like
now?
It's like the hundreds of weddings that I sang at, and every time like the maid of honor or somebody would get, the best man would come up and they would hold the mic like actually it was usually the parent. It was usually the father or the mother.
They hold it like on their waist.
And you would come and you would push their hand up closer and closer to their mouth with the microphone, and then they were like so nervous, like dripping with sweat, these people.
Every time. Every single time.
And then the mic would slowly go back down to like
get
belly
quieter
button level. It's like there's so many nerves for people using microphones. It's very unnatural.
I bet public speaking is one of the most
nerve-wracking
anxiety
things to learn.
Yeah. Well, like one of the most feared.
Did you have speech class in high school?
Oh no, we're from Maine.
I had speech class. And I was
that's the most Nebraska
star.
thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. You had
God.
speech class in high school?
We had like speech competitions, debate team.
Okay, we had debate.
Isn't that kind of the same thing?
Debate.
Speech and debate.
Speech and debate. Is it the same thing?
Speech and debate.
Typically.
But you had classes?
Yeah, because
We had classes and
it's a big
clubs.
thing, and it's
And then
competitive.
Shout out
me through.
to Mr. Coulterman, who saw in me this whatever
ability to speech.
I don't know, because I'm a performer. Like I was a performer more in high school. I was more excited about getting up and performing. But for me, it really struck a chord when he showed me like poetry. That was like a whole thing, just reading people's poetry, which is essentially rap. Like it's a rhythm and a flow and emotional delivery to speaking poetry. So I actually got second place at state for reading poetry.
No shit.
I did a bunch of feminist poetry. Big shock, folks.
Big surprise, folks. So in speech class, though, what would you...
We would prepare... Oh my God, this is the podcast. Mr. Coulterman, I just want to say thank you to my teacher in high school.
Holy shit.
Because I now have a podcast that has reached thousands of people a week.
Where we speech.
We have a beautiful community growing on Patreon. If anybody's interested, if you're already a part of it, thank you so much to our sugar daddies. You are the reason that we've been able to continue to do this.
Cheers to that.
Hey, cheers. Hey, cheers to everybody listening.
Hey.
Everybody.
Hey.
It takes a village. It's not just me and Nick sitting here doing all the technicalities. We got Alex over here.
We got Luna taking a nap. That's hard. Not everybody can do that.
There's a lot of people behind the scenes like making this happen. So thank you to those of you that are out there supporting, whether it's just listening, whether you're on the Patreon. That's patreon.com/House of Herby. Nick is wearing a necklace today that I designed very especially. Well, possibly. We're going to ask our patrons if this is good. We wanted to make an exclusive piece of jewelry because y'all know I'm making jewelry now.
She's making jewelry now.
The story of my beads just continues to get funnier and funnier because I love them. And I wanted to make one that was inspired by our sugar daddies and had like that rich, but also that rich woo spiritual retro vibe. So Nick is wearing it. If you're watching on YouTube or Patreon, you can see that. So we just want to know what you think, and maybe we'll list it.
Maybe I'll make a bunch when I watch The Matrix later.
So far, I've only made one. So let
me
know.
Is this it? Obviously.
You've got the one and only sugar daddy necklace right now.
Okay, so I distracted you. Mr. How do you say his name? Coulterman? Coulterman.
Coulterman.
San Diegans.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was your speech teacher?
Yeah. And he also directed some of like the drama. He had like a drama class, and we would learn scripts, and we would do these dramatic. It was like my acting experience, really.
Oh
in
my
high
God.
school.
We
Isn't
did
that amazing?
yeah.
We had that in tiny Seward, Nebraska.
No, that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
We did something. Fuck, I might just call my mom and ask her exactly what it was.
Did you do any acting?
No. But
Don't you think Nick would be an amazing actor?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody assumes that I'm an actor. When I meet people for the first time, they're like, oh, so what kind of stuff do you act in? And I'm like, trombone period pieces.
You know, the worst thing about acting, I think for me, it was memorizing a script. Like I get so stressed about memorizing the conversation and the words.
Yeah.
I fuck it up every time.
Yeah. No, I could see how that would be stressful. I am not. But
Can
you're
you
good
imagine sitting and studying and memorizing it? You would be a great actor, but I'm like, would you want to do that?
Yeah. Once I could do that, once I figured out like the mechanism that I needed to do that, I would probably be good at it. But dude, when you get into like the 3 or 4 page monologue things,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough because you have to
The
literally.
back and forth's a little easier, probably.
Yeah, maybe. But if the other person, man, that's got to be something that's such a wild.
Shout out to all the actors.
Shout out to the
listening,
actors
because
like,
wow, that
literally-
takes so much focus.
Oh yeah, no,
Tremendous,
it takes a
and
lot
you're
of,
losing yourself in a character.
Yeah. So we know a lot of actors. We're probably going to, when we start having guests on here, one of the guests we're going to have, who's a friend of ours, is Betty Gabriel.
Yes.
Who is, I don't know if you guys have seen
Get Out.
Get Out.
Ooh.
Okay. So in Get Out, there's a scene where she play the housemaid or something like that.
Yep.
She's I think the maid, and it's the scene, it's like one of the most iconic scenes from the movie where she's kind of like, she starts crying while at the same time smiling. It fucking, dude, it's crazy good.
I get goosebumps just thinking about
Seriously,
it.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. So she's a buddy of ours.
Yeah,
and
she
like,
gave me the singing bowl that's sitting behind me on the shelf.
She really did.
She's my spiritual buddy. Like we really.
She's a real fucking deal.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
We go to movies together. Like she's such a vibe.
And we've talked a lot about like the experience of, because she's been in a lot of big things. So it'd be fun to get her on here and talk about the creative differences between acting and music, because I feel like there are so many through lines, but at the same time there are so many total left field differences.
And because this is a creative podcast, no matter what you're doing, if you're out there making candles, if you're out there doing pottery, if you're a painter, if you're a graphic designer, I feel like all of these skills can be translated into your passion. So,
and you can create a business out of that shit if you
Yes.
want to. You don't fucking have to either. That's really important, because when you start making money from your art, it will change things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does change it. You change the experience with a little bit, and I think nobody really talks about that a lot. And then there comes to like making commercial art in that whole experience. Because,
Why does making money change the art?
Well, you're dealing with a irrational business rationally. So it's never going to make sense.
Why is money rational?
No. So, you're trying to approach it. Okay, yeah, good point. Maybe it's not, but you're trying to approach it in something tangible, I guess, like something like services rendered type of thing. If you make an incredible piece of art
And you just give it away.
well, it doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. It doesn't mean that a lot of people are going to purchase it or experience it or buy it or whatever. You know, it takes, there are so many other fucking elements.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, that was the single, that's why, we go back and forth about talking about your experiences and what you have, and why when you go back, like most people, I think there was some like poll or some shit where they were like, I wouldn't change a thing. Even though there were all these tragic periods or whatever, they're like, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Because there's something about like the label experience was so eye-opening in so many ways, and something that was so necessary for us to experience. Yep. Because if not, we were just going to have to experience it in some other form later.
We were fully prepared to have to go work at Starbucks. Which is not a bad job, by the way. I've heard it's actually a wonderful environment to work.
We've said this too, like, and I have never in a million fucking years said I would be this guy, but when you cannot, it's so personal. It's so personal. Because for me, if I didn't have an outlet, and also at the time I was just discovering how that I was a producer, that I could create music, that all these things, right?
You were in denial.
Was I in denial? I wasn't in denial.
You were like, computers hate me. I'm not going to be a producer.
That is very...
I was like, that's an excuse.
Dude, computers, every time I would get near a computer or something, I had to like make friends with computers.
You did.
I had
like
to
on
surrender.
In an energetic level.
I had to like, yes.
Guys, he thanks his computer at night before he goes to bed. Like he walks over to the computer and he puts his hand on it.
It's got all my shit.
And he says, thank you.
What if the
computer...
it
does make a difference. Like, I know it's wooey and weird, but this is real.
What if the computer decided one day to be like, hey, bro, I don't like how you treated me yesterday. Yeah. And just like...
and it might shit the bed. It has before.
Just shits the bed.
It shit the bed before when you didn't think it. Well, that definitely is a rich and delicious conversation for our podcast today, which is about Flowstate. Jedi Nick and I really want to dive into how do you sustain a creative energy in your work, and what if you get stuck? Okay, this is a safe space for self-discovery and bad bitchery. We're here to uncover these things and help you to enjoy your life at a deeper level.
Okay, so like flow state and writer's block or something like that are very different brain frequencies to me.
Well, we're going to cover it all
right.
in today's episode. So
Let's fucking do it.
I think because we're here to like learn and discover together. Thank you all for being curious. First of all, thank you for being courageous enough to even want to better yourselves. That's like that's a vibe.
Dude, that's fucking dope. No, that's the point. I mean, honestly, that's probably the point of fucking life when you break it down.
It probably is. I think anybody that's not interested in that is
a
loser. No, I'm kidding. Here we are judging them.
Get out.
So flow state is the mental state of being completely present and fully immersed in a task. It is an immersive psychosomatic experience.
See, there's no fucking way we're going to fucking escape spiritual fucking shit or consciousness shit every single fucking time.
You can't be a creative person and not
What is it?
have
Say it again.
woo.
Say it again. What is it? It's being fucking present in your shit.
That's a way better definition. Flow
I can
state.
give you synopsis. And
I also just love the word flow state. I think it's 2 words, but I combine it into one. And I was like, oh man, that would be cool. Like flow state population. How many people on the Patreon?
Population Nick.
Right? Population Nick, flow state. Yeah, that was going to be your producer name.
It was,
for
yeah,
a long
population.
time. We had this joke because everywhere we stopped on tour, Nick would ask, oh, what's the population of this town? Every single stop.
I did.
And so it's a certain point where we're
was
like,
so
oh, I don't know, Population Nick is here.
There's something about that. It's so, cause I'm a numbers guy.
But
you
it's
know this
clever.
about me now, Alex.
Yeah.
I love numbers. They're interesting to me. It's a funny little, and you're like, oh, I'm in Kansas City. What's the population in that?
He always brought out the Maine
wonder how
accent too.
big
And
it
like
is,
the
yeah.
cab driver was like, I do not get paid enough for this. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what the population is.
Can we do a Tour Stories episode soon too?
probably.
Because I have a lot of hilarious, that reminds me of a Tour Story, but maybe we save it for a Tour Story episode.
That's fine. It's
That'd be fun.
however
Also,
you want to organize
you
it.
guys always make fun of me as well for saying tour.
Tour because
How do you
it's
say it?
tour.
Tour.
Tour?
Tour.
A tour?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
U in it.
Yeah. No, there's an A when you say it. Tour?
Pompadour.
Okay. Tour is
Pompadour.
TOO-ER. That's tour. That's what you just said.
Oh, tour.
Okay.
It's not
Or-
a single, it's a tour.
Or like TWO-ER. Yeah. It's not a single, it's
Let
a tour.
us know in the comments who
We can cut
you are
all of
siding
this out.
with.
All right,
Yes.
back to you.
Okay, so flow state is a mental state of being completely present and fully immersed in a task. It's an immersive psychosomatic experience. And I love combining the word flow state because it feels like, where do you live? I live in the flow state. That's everyone's goal is to be in the flow state because nothing feels better as a creative person than not only being able to focus on what you're creating, but also to be productive, right? So you're being creative, you're focused, and you're productive, meaning there is a result. Like you feel like at the end of it, you've either reached a new level of understanding of your art, you've produced a piece of art that you can put out into the world or sell, or you're working towards some bigger collection. I don't know. It's progress, really.
Mm-hmm.
To me, flow state is that.
Channeling.
It's like a combination of things.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest questions that I see coming from the community is, well, how do you remain inspired so consistently? How do you... Because you have the ebb and flow of life.
yeah.
You have outside problems that are like, we have friends that are going through shit right now where they can't seem to catch a break from
Yeah.
life shit. And
Yeah.
it's like, how are you going to be, sometimes it feels like you may never be creative in your flow state again.
Yeah. And this is the fucked up thing. Like, this is why all these through lines are the same, because when you are, according to everybody, fucking Eckhart, fucking Tolle, according to all of the, even like, so I'm reading the Joe Dispenza book, The Becoming Supernatural,
You're
which
loving that.
y'all told me about. You all told me to read.
Thank you.
And so when you are present, so you're saying like it's pretty much just channeling some other fucking vibrational something in the present moment, right? So when you are present, there are no problems. There is nothing when you're truly just like be here now, Deepak Chopra shit.
Yep.
Everything else fades away into the background and becomes less of a big deal.
Yeah.
In something that you'll just get to when you get there. You know what I mean? You're not worrying about it anymore.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean you're apathetic to it. You're just so like where you are right now is so cool. It's so so fantastic. So but it's a challenge to be there in Earth, all the time, obviously. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I think we're also, it's prevalent to us right now because we're balls deep in writing the next shit.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of shit out this year, kids.
Hey, why
Buckle
not?
up.
Why not? You know, that's just pushing. So what you're going to find out across the course of this episode is that flow state is a muscle. It's just like patience. We talked about patience last week. Like it's just a muscle that you can practice and discipline yourself. So one of the signs that I notice when I'm in my flow state, and I would love to kind of divulge in an explanation, like a delicious explanation of what it feels like for us, because I know for everybody it's different. This includes Alex. I want to hear how it feels when you think you're in your flow state. But for me, the number one thing I notice is I lose track of time.
Yeah.
Do you ever look up at the clock?
Yes.
And you're like, bitch, it's 4:30 p.m. You sat down sometime this morning and you didn't eat. You didn't even think. Like you got a candle burning. You're just like on a rager of creative flow.
It's been 84 years.
You wake up. So thankfully your body eventually tells you to eat or sleep or shit.
I think of like the interstellar scene.
Right.
They come back. I've been here for 25 years.
All the kids are grown up and have their own kids.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God.
No, it's very true. It's very true. Man, there are so many. You actually are accessing other vibrational fucking frequencies. Yeah, it's wild.
I personally think for my, and we should go around and explain our own vibes, but I think my feeling is that it's almost like an out of body experience. Like time is not important.
Yeah.
And it's the essence of me. Like I'm able to give the most, I'm in my most happy place. Mm-hmm. I'm in my most
you
dream.
often say it's 8-year-old.
Daydream
It's
state.
8-year-old you.
It's childlike. It's like you're just lost in it. You're not concerned with the world. And I would love to hear what y'all feel.
I'm going to ask you a few follow-up questions, if I may.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, because you love doing a ton of different things, you're always, got your hands on a lot of pickle jars.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I have a collection of pickles, many flavors, and
deliciously pickled.
yes.
So when you get back into, are you writing every day usually?
No.
So when you get back into writing brain or writing mode,
Yes.
it does feel like a few days. Or tell me about that process.
Okay, so this is tricky. This is why we're doing an episode on flow state, because it is accessing a different vibration of yourself. I often explain it as like right brain, left brain, because I think science has only given us that one explanation so far.
Creativity versus rational
and
versus
what I
whatever.
always complain about when I'm writing songs is I have to like jump out of my right brain is your creative, right? And left brain is your logic.
I think so.
I have to jump out of my creative brain to go to my logic brain to like answer an email.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, we should order this packaging in a different color. Like for me, having to do math, that's why we always complain about math. Math is wonderful, but it's an enemy to me, to creative flow. Maybe not for some of y'all. Maybe your art is math, right? But I think, for me, and maybe for those that are in visual or audio arts, it is two hemispheres of the brain. It's also conscious and subconscious. You're accessing, when we say we're flow state and we're accessing the muse. I mean, this is a big inspiration for my last project. And there's a couple books we'll recommend that explain this even better.
Oh, yeah. Fascinating.
But this book, The War of Art, he explains the muse coming in her dress, and she doesn't want to get her dress dirty. Like, there's some tips I'm going to give you in this episode for like how to invite the muse in. You all have your own muse that you can access. If you personify, like just like we used for the trauma and healing, like if you separate off your problem and put some space around it, we're going to like personify your flow state and let her come into you're going to set up a ritual.
Put that dress on.
You can ritualize your creative sessions to a point where you're inviting in a freaking goddess energy to come in and bless you with ideas.
I want you to dance.
And you have to respect her. You have to remember, like, this is just, this is the essence of being alive, like Jedi Nick was saying. And I think also the book Big Magic is...
Love that one.
The book. for this, because she just her writing is her art, and it's a book that she wrote about this.
Oh my God, you guys, writing is this is fun.
There's nothing I can recommend more than those two books, Big Magic and War of Art. Those are the ones.
War of Art is going to talk probably more about like
very masculine.
Yes, I was just going to say it's the masculine approach, because he talks about resistance.
It's a lot more real and bitter and angry, although
powering through. That one's more about like, you have to and this is interesting too. He makes so many
great points.
Absolutely. Because it is so personalized. I think the first time I remember reading about this, when I was like, oh, that's an interesting approach, was reading about a Beatles interview, okay, where I think John Lennon was saying, he's like, oh, I don't know, man, I'll just sit down and have a look, the inspiration just comes down, man. And then Paul McCartnney, that was John's approach. Paul McCartney was like, oh, yeah, man, I got to get a cup of coffee and like roll up my sleeves and just get to work.
Yes.
So he had more of, and that's kind of how I work as well.
This is we always say, which Beatle are you? In our house, we're like, which Beatle are you? Like, I'm obviously John Lennon, John. And you're obviously Paul.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm obviously Ringo.
Nick
but, yeah.
is like, if you just go to the gym every day, even if you're not if you're not feeling good, like you're going to be strong.
You got to do it.
I'm like, do I feel inspired?
Do I want to do this?
And I think that most people are like me.
You think so?
I think most people are like, am I inspired? And that's why I wanted to offer y'all some tips, because I've learned from living with a frickin' Paul McCartney that I know now what it takes to access your flow state.
Yeah. Because it's, I guess like, so my approach too is you don't know, you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. All right.
Let's go
sports analogies. Okay. So you have to, even for creating songs, even for getting a great idea, you have to, you just have to try.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I know nothing's going to happen if I don't try.
So it's already the first tip of the day is just schedule it and do it. Like, give yourself time to do creative.
Oh my God. Okay, next week we're talking about habits. Next week we'll talk about habits.
Well,
we're always talking about habits.
Oh my God,
I'm
I
rolling
love
my
habits.
eyes so much.
That ties into how to start, the episode that we did.
It does.
Last season, so that would be a good reference.
Thank you. And
Thanks,
we
Alex.
will be repeating ourselves now because
that's good.
Y'all are getting it. I have so many messages from listeners of this podcast that are like, Qveen, I started my own business. I just did this. I just moved here to a new city. Like, oh shit.
I think you had somebody message you. Correct me if I'm wrong. They said they were listening to your music and got inspired and started their own candle business and made $1 million in 1 year because it went viral on TikTok.
That is correct. That's like
That's fucking cool as shit.
The illest cosign ever.
That's the hardest bar ever.
So I described my flow state, okay? I lose track of time. I feel like I'm almost like cross-eyed in a cold pool of water. I've described it as this because it can be uncomfortable. And a lot of times too, I'll just take a sip of like some cannabis or something and just kind of try to loosen myself up. I have a ritual that I do where I have to have a smell going, right? I got to burn a candle. I'm a Taurus, so I want to... But they say this in a lot of these books, like you have to respect the muse.
You gotta like woo it.
You have to woo her into the room.
Isn't that fascinating?
You have to treat it like, I mean, babes, it's witchcraft too. Like
Take
witchcraft
it on a date.
and spellcraft and manifesting and all these key words that are so popular is like all the same thing. It's energizing and creating a consistent ritual that you follow that ultimately leads you to take tiny actions, which leads to it manifesting. Like there's really no other way.
Yeah.
So flow state is essential. And I think we should really, on this podcast, at least with our community, like, let's try it together. Let's see like, oh, I did my flow state session. I did this. Like, why not? We can hold each other accountable. And then you're going to make like, what's the alternative? Not becoming disciplined in this and then not giving us your art.
God,
we need your art.
So much fucking shit comes down to discipline too. This is fascinating because this is forcing me to have to try to think about and articulate different things that we have always been developing and doing on our own.
Yes.
Because I do
we've
feel
gotten
like
better as we've gotten older too. So it does take time to kind of hone.
It really does. No, it really does. And this is classic Capricorn Nick. Like this is, I love doing these processes and learning about it because there's just something so fucking romantic about the writer or the, you know what I mean? I love these old, for me, I obviously love music, but also film. Film is such a huge inspiration for me.
For sure.
Spielberg is one of my biggest all-time, I'm always watching Tarantino
Movies.
and movies and different things and all the in this, because it's such a fascinating approach. That's a whole other realm of creativity. But music is so fucking music to me is still like, because if you have movies without music, it's almost not watchable. They're incredible movies without music, but they just add so much. Been watching.
Tarantino talks about his writing process, and it was just so
cocaine and hookers,
pretty much. But that's his ritual, right?
Well, and he also, there's a quote to good artists borrow, great artists steal. I don't know who said that. Was that Picasso? So Tarantino, I didn't know a lot about this, but spaghetti westerns, all right, is pretty much Western movies made in the 60s through 80s.
Italian.
They were Italian. They're made in Europe.
That's why they're called spaghetti.
Spaghetti westerns. So, but he would literally just rip his favorite scenes from those.
Right.
And recreate them in his shit.
Yeah.
And that's why he has a lot of these Western themes in his soundtracks and the whole thing. It's just a fascinating thing to me personally. I get a lot of inspiration from that.
Right.
But
well, in this book that we had recommended in the past called
Power of Awareness.
Thank you. The opening chapter of Power of Awareness says, "Don't worry, everything's already been created."
Wow.
The pressure's off.
Kinda
So it's
lets the pressure off,
he made spaghetti westerns. He ripped off or stole. Great artists steal, blah, 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 artists borrow. Picasso did quote
say
that.
Thank you. Wow, I know things.
It sounds like a very toxic quote, but in a lot of ways, it's true if you look at the spiritual side of things. It's no, it's the universe, everything, all the possibilities exist already.
Do it through your lens.
Do it through your lens.
You need
because
to do.
Your
That's what makes it special.
perspective
Yes.
And your story and us connecting with your vibration is
Boom.
everything.
That's
right?
fucking it, dude.
Other people have worn a black tank top before,
Yeah.
Other people have made black and white beaded necklaces, but it's my spin on it in the way that I serve it.
Yeah.
And inspire others
You
with
can't,
it.
Honestly, I have never.
Magic.
You don't see it anywhere else.
You don't. Now,
Even though it feels familiar, but it's not something that you can get anywhere else.
Correct.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I also want to commend you for your writing.
For myself. Oh,
I think you are a wonderful writer.
thank you.
I think you're a fantastic writer. And I also know and appreciate, having been through this process myself, how difficult it is to be a good writer. And how long and how much of a painstakingly fucking you have to bring the muse in for years, people. This is a muscle. I don't know if anybody on the planet has ever woken up and been like, oh, writing is natural and easy to me.
Right. It's not always been easy for me.
It's a process that you have to
Still not easy.
understand. It's multi-layered. And for music, it's just about even starting with getting the timing right, getting it to rhyme, getting it to first you just get it to rhyme, and then you're like, yeah, it's fuck yeah, and then you realize it's just shit. Then you have to up the level of the bars and the meaning in it, and then get it to rhyme, and then it's having everything else connect, and then having a deeper meaning behind everything. And I feel like you've really embraced one of the things that was frustrating from us from our prior experiences was not being able to really. Was the writing.
Yeah.
It was the fucking writing. Because it is such a specific thing. It's such an individualized thing.
It is. And how do you stand out from the crowd, right? So I think the more I dive into my artistry, I realize that you don't necessarily need to be exceptionally profoundly talented at something. You just need to get into your flow state on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And over the course of several years, you become a master. They say 10,000 hours.
Fuck.
That shit is
This
real,
it, kids.
yo. What do
This
you want to
is
do?
The fucking secret. This is it.
Whatever you wanna do.
You just keep fucking doing it.
You
The
better
two
pick
Noonan
something.
rules.
Pick something you love.
Two
and
Noonan
just
rules.
do it every day.
Don't give up and don't go crazy.
There it is.
That's it.
These
and
are the
it-
House of Herby rules.
Yep. House of Herby fucking rules.
Okay, but Maya Angelou said, you can't use up creativity. The more you use,
The more you have.
the more you have.
Damn. So they literally say that about being present as well. You will never run out of willpower in the present moment.
Right.
It's something that just can't happen.
Even if you're exhausted and barely able to stay awake, you can still observe yourself.
Yeah. Well, you'll never get fully, if you get to that point where you're fully exhausted, you just step out and just cool, I'm gonna go sleep.
Right.
And you have no worries about anything.
So crazy.
It's really wild.
So let's talk about writer's block, which is, I feel like, a viral term. I don't think a lot of people even know what that means. And more of it is just stuckness. Like, what happens if I get stuck?
And he talks about this a lot in the War of Art.
Yes, he does.
Stephen
He does.
Pressfield,
And so does Big Magic.
Oh, does she? I don't remember that.
What's her name? Elizabeth?
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Thank you. Elizabeth Gilbert is one of my idols.
Yeah, an incredible writer.
So,
she did Eat, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, Love, Penis. Eat, Love, Penis.
Love, Praying. Wait, what is it?
Yes. Big
All right, I
Magic
knew it.
is a book. Thank you, Zach Waters, for handing me off this book. I believe he handed
Was he the
me
one?
Betty Who's copy of the book that he had gotten. So like three really cool artists
that.
have shared one Elizabeth book, and it's just changed our lives. And I love how she talks about respecting the muse and respecting the process in her art so much that she was like, how dare I expect this to make a living for me? It's a profound honor to just create.
Yeah,
I
very true.
should go about my life trying to take care of my physical self while also being creative. Like, being able to do this for a living comes with its own challenges too. It's not always the best life.
Well, it's not. It's an incredible...
You just said money changes it.
It changes it because it's such an incredible privilege, just like she said, just to be able to do it and that experience that you feel in your body, and it's such a fucking high.
She was like, I'm going to be a waitress in Bali while I'm waiting for my books to take off.
Yeah.
And she had a great time, and she got more stuff to write about.
No, that gave her the material for her big hit.
Period.
Did it not?
It did.
That was Eat, Pray, Love.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
She was going through a divorce. She was like, my career's not working. What do I do? Yeah.
Dude, just, oh, Jesus. It's so, it's too perfect.
Yeah.
It's too perfect.
Okay. So if flow state is a muscle and you just have to go for it, what is it that writer's block means? To me, I believe that would be a fear trigger. If you're saying, I'm suffering from writer's block, you're saying, I'm afraid to try and fail today and to try again tomorrow and fail again.
Yeah.
So you're saying for 30 days, 60 days, I've had writer's block. That's saying to me that you haven't lit your candle, smoked your joint, invited the muse in, and fucking sat and focused and wrote.
Or taken time.
Or tried to paint something horrible. Just get it out the way. Shit is the fertilizer.
Shit is the best fertilizer. That's the kind of the main advice I tell everybody starting off in creative. Like, shit is the best fertilizer.
But the fear of getting started that's why we have an episode called How to Start, because it's so, especially as you let the days carry on, babe.
But that's why shit is the best fertilizer.
It is. Just make something shitty, please. We need your art.
Sometimes for fun, I'll try to make something as terrible as possible. I have two little nieces and nephews, okay, Lucy and Parker, shout out. And they're upset. We are obsessed with calling each other poop sandwiches.
Yes. Every time we FaceTime
forcing each
them.
other to eat poop sandwiches.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then it starts screaming, and I chase them around for a while. My back hurts later, and it's great. So what I do is one time I just randomly, I'll send them random videos, and I made a song called "You're a Poop Sandwich."
Yes.
And sent it to them. And the funny part is, I kind of like the track now.
So it is important so that's a really good tip. If you're experiencing writer's block, just make something shitty, please.
Just make something.
Because shit is going to be your fertilizer for a track that you like called Poop Sandwiches.
You know what I mean? And then you got a big old fucking poop sandwich tree.
And then you got a big old poop sandwich hit. And then you're going to be making money from this, and now you're going to change everything.
What I always like to say to people, like, relax. Whatever you make, it's not going to get more views than Baby Shark.
Whoa. I feel like
the pressure's off.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to beat Baby Shark.
Nothing's going to beat it.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Actually, maybe one of them. It would be somebody listening to House of Herby podcast that would get more views than Baby Shark.
Oh my God, if you do, tag me.
If you make some goddamn candles, I swear to God. I swear to Goddess. Okay, next tip. So I don't want to hear you say I have writer's block. I know it feels really good to say that, and you can sit in that as long as you want. Please don't let it be more than like a few days, right? Just know it's like going to the gym. For me, I hate working out, but I'm like, no, I know it's going to be good for me to do this. As reluctant as I am, just make us some poop sandwiches and move on with your life.
Let's do it.
It'll fertilize your art that we need very badly. The tip that I have next is to schedule it. So this is like kind of, because we talked about creativity, focus, and productivity. Those are kind of the magic 3 of flow state. So you're being in the creative state, you're going to make poop sandwiches. Some days are just going to be a whole poop sandwich day. Okay, that could be a really good t-shirt. So you've got your creativity. We're done with the excuses, and now we're into the focus. So focus is a real issue. I'll tell you why it's an issue. We did the social media epised, y'all.
Jesus.
It's an issue.
I end up on my phone
Focus.
Without knowing how I got there now.
Oh my God.
No, that's why I think that's the the phone is going to be the single most important hurdle for us, the next generation to get over.
If you're as distracted as me or more so,
and you're pretty focused,
this is going to be the one point. If you tell me you have writer's block and you're looking at your phone at least an hour or 2 a day, nah, sis, we got to, I need you to schedule this like you schedule a meeting, a doctor's appointment. I need you to go there at 1 p.m. and until 2 p.m., you cannot look at your phone. Anything that pops up in your really fast running thoughts and mind, I need you to put them on a list and put it to the side.
Yeah.
That's why I keep physical lists. I have a pen and paper, y'all.
We
where
have
I
literally
write things down
hundreds of physical lists lying around the house.
because I need to be in my flow state. That's the priority. And you got to learn how to like siphon those things off. Okay. Yes, we can unroll the dog grass on the patio later. Like that's a lot. That's a really stressful thing for me. The dog grass.
Really?
Yeah. Because like every month,
do it.
Every month we get new, you never do.
I do sometimes.
Sometimes he does. It's very heavy and it's covered in urine and it's weird, but I'm like, look, I need to focus, or, I have a million things in my mind. So keeping a short list, like a little grocery list of things that you can save for later will help get them off your mind and push them to the side so that you can focus. You have to turn your phone off or you got to put on do not disturb. Come on, babe. 1 hour. It's just 1 hour.
Actively don't touch it for a long time.
I did have lunch with JoJo this week and we were,
that's a good tweet.
We were engulfed in conversation, and for an hour we were just into it. Like we were just going back and forth and just beautiful conversation. And we realized, she was like, oh shit, I got to put change in the parking meter. And I realized it had been an hour and we both got on our phones and it was like a barrage of texts and emails and all these things. And I was like, fuck, who are we? We had a conversation about that. I was like, yeah, it's modern life. Okay. It comes with the territory. She also told me that I needed a tour. Uh-oh. She looked me dead in the eyes and she was like, you need to go on tour. And I was like, JoJo taught me. So thank you, JoJo.
Well, if JoJo said it.
We love her. But that's so important. The phone, I know some of y'all are busy. There's a lot going on. But if you can give me 1 hour, see, now I'm making you do it for me. If you can give Qveen 1 hour of focus.
Give her an hour without the phone. You'll be fine. It'll still be there when you're on your phone at 9:30 at night on YouTube.
Once you schedule it, once you set aside your to-do list, once you turn off your phone, you're going to find that you're in a battle with 2 different sides of your brain. The logical side of your brain is still, this happens to me anyway, still going to try to find things to detract you from focusing on creating.
I wonder if that's
so weird.
I wonder if that's also like a self-sabotage.
Definitely. This is not a
archetype.
real job. You don't deserve this. Those things come up in my brain.
That's a fascinating thing. Okay, so my angle on all this, to be able to access this place quicker or more consistently, is going to be surrender.
How?
That's what I mean. So if you can
surrendering to the fact that you're distracted and it's going to be hard.
Well, surrender to fucking
that you're going to make poop sandwich.
That you're going to make. Maybe you're going to make a poop sandwich today. That either way, the human experience is intense, and it's a lot, and it's made to be overwhelming. It's like you're saying, especially in today's modern world. Surrender. All the fucking pressures. Look, even just take like physically, you can feel it when you take a fucking exhale and you're like, the end of the day when you put your feet up and fucking crack open a beer or something, like you just, everything in your body just fucking lets go. And to me,
skill.
That's it. Well, it's like all of these things. It's a learned skill. I don't think it's something that comes naturally.
And of course you're stressed. Of course you're uptight. Of course you're hanging on because it's survival, babe. This is who you're genetically, scientifically made to be. And that's how we came here to overcome this.
Yes.
Was to learn surrender as soon as you learn it.
It will
Did
literally.
we do an episode on that yet?
No, we should probably do that next week. Don't spill your martini.
I didn't spill.
Gotta give it to me. I'll take a sip.
Surrender. I'm adding it to my notes.
It's a good one. She's a heavy one because to me, it's the lowest common denominator. I could talk about that literally once a month and just
That's
make
why
that.
we're not doing that episode. Just
It's such a nuanced thing that I am learning more about personally.
Yeah.
Literally
There's
every
only a couple
day.
books that describe it well, in my
Yep.
opinion.
And to me, it's the lowest common denominator of all life on Earth or the human experience. If you want to try to access just living in love, joy, or peace.
Maybe a better way to explain it too is like learning to let go of
Learning to let go.
perfection.
Ooh, fuck.
The
We just
fear
listened
of
to a
the
whole
fear
talk.
of failing or making a poop sandwich is the fear of
crippling.
making something that's not good.
Crippling.
Of
Yeah,
not
yeah.
perfect enough for you.
And this comes down to what is that fear about, right?
What is that about?
It's about external things, okay, giving you some kind of opinion or some kind of external energy or response.
Embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's a big
Whatever
one.
that is,
Not
all
being
of that,
accepted, people finding out that you're really weird.
all of those things are external, okay? None of those things are inside.
You don't even have to share the poop sandwich. You don't have to. You can just keep that for your fertilizer for your art
No,
for later.
But usually, okay, side story. So I was talking, I think Finnessy told me the story. Shout out Finnessy, our co-producer / mixer master guy. Wonderful, fucking great dude. Yeah. So he was saying, he just really just randomly will talk and you'll call and we'll just talk about shit for
You
a while.
guys talk for days. I love it so much. Sometimes
No.
I come home and I'm like,
I mean, we're just yelling at
who's
each
Nick
other.
talking to? Like, they're having the best time.
So Finnessy was saying he was playing music for like an A&R, okay, at a label or a publishing company or something somewhere. And he's playing some music and he's like, yeah, cool, back and forth, yeah, cool. And the guy was like, do you have anything that you're embarrassed by? And he was like, huh? He's like, yeah, do you have anything that like
Play me something that you hate.
kind of makes you embarrassed?
What?
Play me something you hate. And he's like, oh, okay. And he played it for him. The guy was like, yeah, this is it.
Oh my goddess. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's
Because an artist is especially vulnerable and embarrassed about the realist.
how many people do you know that are exceptional writers when they're working on other people's shit
Oh, a lot.
versus their own project?
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
It takes the fucking pressure
And
off.
like developing a fantasy around somebody else's character is just easier. Sometimes.
There's sometimes, and maybe sometimes not. I mean, Johnny Cash would famously be like, they're like, how did you sing like that and play like that? And he's like, I don't know how to do anything else. You know what I mean? Yeah. There are those random
And then there's people
karmic-
like me that can do 19 genres.
and that's almost a curse.
It is.
It becomes harder for you to clarify. I remember one of the
Being versatile is not always good.
it's very challenging when you're trying to create a business from it, trying to make money from it. It can be very challenging
For sure.
because you need to specialize. And I think a big creative overarching thing that we can give to anybody is like just specialize, find your niche.
Yeah.
Keep it very specific, especially when you're starting, as specific as possible.
So if you're afraid of not being perfect and being weird, you're doing the right things.
No, that's bad. That's amazing. That's the only place you need to be. But we were talking with Ryan Tedder.
You finished that martini so fast.
It's been gone for hours. Ryan Martinez. Ryan Tedder.
Martinez?
I don't know. I think because I was going to say martini.
I think we should call these martinis Martinez.
I killed Alex.
We should call these Martinez from now on. I started calling them Martines.
I call them teenies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
I need teeny hands.
Yeah.
So Ryan Tedder, okay, who's the lead singer of One Republic.
Republics.
Also, he's a co-writer on some of the biggest hits in the
He's
last
a genius.
10, 15 years.
For sure.
Okay. Also, when we were talking to him years ago, he was already very fucking tired. You could tell. He had been over it for a long time.
Not
And-
tired. I would say like good jaded, like professional jaded, like, oh,
Well,
I
and
know
this is the
he
thing.
knows so much.
But right. So he's over it. He's like, fuck it. He's in the fuck it stage.
He's in the fuck it stage, the best place to be. Because right after that, he got the Adele hits.
Yeah, I think he got
So,
Adele hits right after
just
that.
saying.
Yeah. So, and he, so you had One Republic at the time, a bunch of huge other co-writes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking to him and the whole band backstage at some show somewhere, and he was enthralled by you, probably because you were hot, but also he was just like, he could see that you were really talented. And he was like, oh man, you guys are so talented. I'm sorry.
It's not going to go well.
And he was like
He wasn't wrong.
No, he was legit. He was like not really kidding.
Yeah.
He's like, this is a very tough business.
He was the realest, and also Ellen DeGeneres. So real. We were taken aback by her realness.
Yeah.
We were shocked.
It was very different than the Tiffy persona.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
I was like, oh no, she knows things that we don't.
Well, she's seen things, or she's been in this long enough that this is
I would have liked to get to know her more.
Well, I would love to get these people, you know what it is? I'd love to get
in a real element.
Yes,
you know?
get them drunk or high. Like take the
I would like to drug them.
I would like to lower their inhibitions and
we take
see where
our
we can
own
take
clips
them.
out of
well,
context.
kind of.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Because I don't want to take advantage of anybody.
Right.
I just want to talk to them at their most
real, vulnerable place.
Yes.
Yeah. Take the walls down.
Yeah, I want to take the walls down and I want to talk to them and I want to see where they are.
Well, if you've been traumatized, you certainly are not letting people in that easily. So that's why it is hard. It is hard to make friends in Hollywood.
Sometimes
it's hard to make friends in Hollywood. That's a song.
Oh my God, that's such a song.
JoJo.
It's hard to make friends in
My
Hollywood.
only friend of 1 hour of noodle lunch.
Thank you,
okay,
Alex.
but y'all didn't describe to me your flow state. I'm really curious. Like, what does it feel like? I know this is
you wanna
weird
go
and
first?
hard to put words to it.
Yeah, I think I know that I'm in my flow state when I'm accomplishing everything on my to-do list.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at the clock once. I'm
Right.
just like, oh, what's next? It's so similar to what you were saying. I don't really pay attention to the time when I know that I'm in my flow state, or specifically to this. So like I love producing this podcast.
Yeah.
And I will be editing the shit out of this thing and be like, Jesus Christ, I should probably come up for air for a second.
Yeah.
But I just am so excited by the editing process of things, which is why I love, or music videos. When I'm coloring a video, I'll be like, holy shit, it's 3 a.m. I need to
Even editing for you're a great
I haven't
editor.
eaten in 3
I
days.
love doing
editor.
it so much. So it's just like, so it's passion mixed with my routine that when they come together, I'm just in it.
Passion is a great word. I don't think we've said that yet. Passion is a very, very important word.
Yeah, because if
And
you're
passion
you should never lie to yourself. Like I was about to say, you got to know yourself, right? So if you're like, oh, I have writer's block, it's like, do you want to be a writer?
Or
Let's triple check.
Seriously,
Right?
Seriously,
Because when Alex
a lot of
shared with me, and I don't know if it's okay to share this, but you were like, since I was young and I saw music videos, I was like, someday I'm going to make music videos. And you fucking did it.
It's all I wanted to do.
So you have now been a part of like literally
Multiple
dozens and
multi-million
dozens
view
and dozens.
videos.
no, you have shot probably over 100,000,
But also
million
you
views.
make
YouTube
beautiful
videos.
music videos for your own artistry. You make beautiful music videos for others. You are a dancer. You edit and shoot and color our videos. Like, it's pretty crazy.
And I told it was what I was telling you is that it was like a moment of me stepping back to be like, oh shit, I am doing what 8-year-old Alex wanted to be doing.
It just happened.
Sometimes, usually, no one will sit you down and tell you this is happening.
Hey, congratulations, you are the guy.
Yes,
now.
that's
Right.
something that is very
Right.
confusing.
For
It's
sure.
because you don't have the big moment where somebody shows up with the
Right.
plaque and
Right.
Especially if you maintain ownership of your company and of your creative flow. You're like, oh, no one's going to pat you on the back. Why would they?
Right.
And this is a
They don't
fascinating.
have skin in the game.
With Queen Herby, we are making more money than we've ever made before. We are more free and more creatively open
struck
and
the balance.
stimulated than we've
Yeah.
ever been before. The
Yeah.
only thing that it isn't is as much exposure. So that's
Correct.
but it's fascinating because no
Because
one will
we
sit you down.
We niched really hard.
No one will sit us down.
Who else is like Queen Herby?
Nobody will sit you down and say you did it because it's only you. You have to do it to yourself.
Well, my sugar daddies tell me every day, and it's pretty
But
great.
it's- you-
Patreon.com/House-of-Herby. Just kidding.
You have to be the one to do that for yourself. And
Yeah.
that's what makes creativity and then like making money from creativity can be very complicated. It doesn't always need to be. One thing that I have learned over the years from a lot of the greats and from my own personal experience is when it becomes really complicated, uncomplicate things.
Simplify, or as my astrologer told me, integrate. If you're too crazy, try to mash it all together into one thing, or try to get to the common denominator and focus on that.
Yeah.
Okay, but can we get through the rest of these?
My God.
I love going on tangents with y'all, but look,
Twist
listen.
my nipples.
Listen. I'm on a
That one
mission.
came out weird.
I've never been the one to fit. Okay, so we've let go of perfection. We've scheduled our time to get in the flow state.
I'm going to talk about perfection in a whole nother episode because that's a whole. I've been
Perfection?
listening to a few different
oh my God,
podcasts
the perfection
about
episode.
that. Oh my God, perfectionism.
I'm perfect. That's a brand. That's a mood. Perfect. The perfect.
Let's put that
brand.
on a T-shirt. That would probably be a good T-shirt.
Oh my God, that's
I'm
the perfect.
Has somebody done that yet?
Somebody needs to make a candle company. Perfect candle.
Oh, what does it smell like? It smells like I'm perfect.
Perfect.
I'm perfect, bitch.
I love it. Okay, so we've scheduled our time for the flow state, and we've been comfortable making a mess, making a shit sandwich. Oh, sorry, poop sandwich. Shit sandwich is fun to say.
Shit sandwich?
And you're slowly compounding and working your way up to this artwork.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't need to be. That's one thing I've been doing lately as I've been writing the next project. I dove in
Let's go.
this week to the
Water's
next project.
warm.
And I was like, yo, I can just get a couple lines a day. What if I just get a couple lines a day? That's
all you
way
need.
more fun than binging and feeling stressed.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
So that's all you need, dude.
So your two sides of your brain are now fighting each other. You've put off your to-do list is off to the side. Your phone is set to do not disturb. And you're still going to fight with all these things, but you're letting go of perfection. Do not switch between, try to stay in the right side of the brain, which is the creative side. You can edit later. Don't try to switch between logic and creative. Like, just for this 1 hour, babe, we need your art. Know yourself. Are you a morning creative, or are you in the wee hours of the evening creating? You just have to, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer.
There isn't.
Know yourself. Do you even want to be, do you have writer's block and you don't even want to be a writer? Maybe that's why you're blocked.
Well, and maybe if you just start, it'll take you somewhere else. If you think you're supposed to be this pop star figure or this, movie writer or whatever, and you end up being a producer, or you end up being a something, I don't know, be doing the lighting, being a whatever it is, you don't know.
It's amazing how a pivot can change everything.
Yes. And
if you're like, wait, I've always enjoyed like editing though, or I've always enjoyed producing, or whatever.
Yes,
you can still do all the other stuff, but you're like, well, maybe I shift more into this and see how my flow state feels in this.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's more in alignment with what you came to do. Maybe that's more sustainable for you. Maybe that's like something you can do till you're 80.
The thing that fucking blows my dick off every time is anybody who's become an icon in any fucking scenario has always been at the very pivotal starting point for them and not known a fucking shit dick about anything. Everybody.
So everybody who's an icon
has
started
been
knowing
at that point,
nothing.
has started, thank you for translating.
Falling flat on their face.
Has started at the point of knowing nothing.
Tell the Steven Spielberg story.
Okay, so Spielberg was on a tour. Okay, so he made a bunch of like homemade movies and shit like that. He obviously always had a tendency to do this, or like a pull toward to direct or make something with film, right? So he goes on this Universal lot tour.
Backlot tour, which is like if you go to Universal Studios, you pay your like $75 and you go on the tour.
Yeah, and at the time, I don't think Universal Park, right? It was just literally
just
a tour.
The backlot tour,
yeah.
so it was probably like 15 cents.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he's like 17, 16, 18 at the time, something like that. And they go off to have one bathroom break. It's like a long tour. So he's just stayed in the stall and waited till he heard everybody left.
So they left to let the trolley leave.
And he just stayed on the lot, right? When he left that day, he struck up this whole conversation with a security guard to make it seem like he was someone who was there. Okay. So the next day he shows up with like a briefcase or something and says hi to security guard. The guy lets him in. He literally was there for months. He made a placard with his name, Steven Spielberg, on it, and he took over an abandoned fucking office, or just like an empty office. Okay. That's how Steven Spielberg started.
This can't be real.
He literally just said like, no, I'm just going to figure it out.
So that's illegal. So maybe not. And that definitely white privilege and things played into this.
A lot of things.
Like
a lot of things. But you have to kind of take the hand that you're dealt.
That's kind of crazy. That's kind of wild.
And he figured it out.
And so eventually somebody was like, yo, we need to give you a position?
He ended up somehow by just being on the lot. Because I think the main reason he stayed behind that first day is because he wanted to actually get inside the stages. Get inside, because you could just see from the outside. You couldn't get inside and see the whole this, because the stages, for people who don't know, they're these huge, massive buildings, kind of like warehouses that they build.
Really high ceilings. Love those.
Huge ceilings.
No windows, though.
That they just build sets in. So like the entire Ellen show, whatever is needed.
Soundstage.
So he wanted to see inside of that.
So eventually they gave him a job.
So eventually he got a gig. He got to know, I think, like one of the presidents of the entire fucking studio. And they gave him his first job directing, I think it was like a TV series.
That's wild.
And that's how he started.
Insane.
So, yeah, it's
Wild.
It's really crazy.
So also get creative, but don't go to jail.
Well, and also there's a guerrilla marketing strategy.
There is.
That I didn't know this about myself, but I'm becoming fascinated by.
We actually would prefer to do it an unusual way than like the way everybody else does it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure it's just some egoic tendency somewhere.
Some people are better at the classical approach where they follow the rules, and I love that for you.
If you do both, that's great. But most people, when was the last time somebody followed the rules and it worked out?
Well, I forgot who quoted this, but they were like, well-behaved women that rarely make history. I feel like it was somebody, Eleanor Roosevelt or something like that.
It's a good bumper sticker.
It is. Okay, so a couple last tips for this, and we will let you go on your merry way of scheduling your flow state because we need your art. Create a nurturing environment for yourself. Okay, nice. So you're now treating this like a ritual, like a sacred ass ritual, where you're setting up your space, your nest for creating. Because remember, it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit until you get in the flow state. You're going to be uncomfortable, possibly. Especially when you're starting, if you're scheduling this and you're on day 2, day 3. For me, it takes like 3 to 4 days, really, to get into the point where I can sit down and fucking bust out some bars. You know what I mean?
So you've been doing this for a long fucking time.
I have.
It takes 3 or 4 days for you to get back into
by day
it.
4, I'm like,
you're good. Yeah.
Prestigious bars. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm amazing. I'm a genius. And it feels amazing. But I had to light a lot of candles. I had to get I have like my favorite, I've got my Muse hoodie now. I've got like my Queen Herby. I wear my own goddamn merch to hype myself up. Because if I catch a glance of myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh shit, I have merch. And like other people are wearing it too. And then I'm inspired by y'all to make more bops. And so that act of like this very Taurus energy to like clean, organize, give love to your environment. Thank your computer at the end of the session.
Fuck.
Give yourself some rewards if you make it through like from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock and you're like, time for an espresso. Make yourself a goddamn espresso. Light a joint. Put on music. Okay. If I'm not writing music, if I'm working on designing something, I love listening to music. Whether that's like my Bad Bitch Energy playlist on Spotify, which I'm on that playlist now, or what's really fun is when I'm doing some more like, I don't even know what to call it. Some more like vague designing stuff. I'll listen to classical or like instrumental music, chill hop. I love so much.
We've had a lot of tiki.
I have a tiki
recently.
playlist. I need to share my playlist with you because it's so good. The tiki playlist is giving like Disneyland, but it's Haunted Mansion tiki.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Incredibles, James Bond.
It's vintagey, like Torch Singer.
It's great.
Disney.
I love it.
It's perfect. So that you kind of can put together, you can make your own playlist for your own ritual of inviting the muse and creating the flow state. Then my last piece of advice on that front is like, if you get stuck, if you need more stimulation, whether that's music stimulation, visually, Pinterest. Get on Pinterest. Type in some words of what you're trying to create and just look at, everything's already been created. You're just looking for inspiration. Start making a board on Pinterest that you can look at and reference because you're going to get lost in one of those photos. You're going to say, wow, this photo shoot from Vogue in 1962 really was speaking to the song I'm trying to write. Fashion is a huge inspo for me, but Pinterest is where it's all cataloged.
Yeah, you visually work really well. Yeah,
and I wonder mood board it. If you love it so much, throw it on your mood board. Like these are things you can do to dress your space to get in your flow state faster.
Yeah. Okay. So do I go next?
Yeah.
You want me to fucking say some shit?
Let's go.
Because it's interesting, and I very rarely think about what's happening because
I know it's like a zombie. You're in a
well, kind of. It's like looking at those books. Remember, you had to kind of like cross your eyes to see the
magic eye.
Is that what it is, Magic Eye?
Did you have those?
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit of that, which is that channeling vibration in all of these books too, like the Field and the Joe Dispenza books. They're talking about what's actually happening in your brain, like the brain frequencies that you're emitting when you access these things, and they're different. And they're very meditative states usually. So that's why that's why also surrender is so important, because it allows you to access those states quicker. You're quiet your mind, you quiet your body.
Sometimes I meditate too. That's really helpful.
Oh yeah,
like a 5 or 10 minute.
I'm at the point now where if I don't do it, I feel off.
I should make them a guided meditation for Flowstate.
Oh fuck me!
Because people have been requesting. We have the good morning, and they're like, "Can we get a good night?"
That'd be
meditation.
A great one.
We should also do a flow state.
Okay, so anyway, for me, my kind of flow state thing, because it's interesting. I have to, and maybe I am an actor, because I do have to almost physically embody. It's a lot of visualization for me. So I do have to. I guess it is a channeling. I have to be at the place where I want to be experiencing this music. There's a lot of times I'll go and make something, and it's just total shit. And usually after about an hour. We try to like look at it this way. After about an hour, I'll know if it's something I want to continue to try to chase down, or whether it's worth it or not. And if it's not, then I just save the project and move on to something, or to like take a break, move away from it for 5 or 10 minutes or something, come back to something new. But if it's something that I'm really excited about, then I will see you either like the music video for it, or you performing it live. Something about that aspect, or like, making the visuals for it. And I can literally feel myself embodying it and seeing what that energy would be. Because it's one thing to make hits. It's one thing to make, this, that, and the other thing. It's another thing to make hits specific for an artist or a character that you're building. And that's something that I'm starting to understand. It's like the very, very subtle nuances of why you hear things the way that you do, I guess. Do you know what I mean? When a listener hears something, well, why do they categorize it one way or the other? And that's something that you have to learn, I think. I think that just takes with a shitload of experience, but I'm slowly getting to that point now. And it is interesting. I do have for a while I had, your mood board. We should probably show that next week too, because you're always mood boarding before every project.
Yes.
So I will look at that a lot. And, and for a while it was in the other spot too. And I would look at that as I was creating, or just come back to it and make sure it matched.
For sure. That's what I'm saying. Like kind of Pinterest for those of you that aren't working with Queen Herby directly, and now Queen Herby can go back 6 years into the archives and I'm picking out like photo shoots and looks that I did that were like the vibe that I want to capture on this next project. So it gets fun. The longer you commit to your flow state, the longer you make it a habit.
It does get fun, because eventually, like anything else, you'll get fucking good at it.
Yeah. Yep. Shit. All that I have left to say is if this is overwhelming for you, it's like doing a workout, like you need to get some air, go for a walk. That's the only other piece of advice I can give. Changing physical location is a huge thing for me. It's huge. Like huge. Honestly, if you use cannabis, for example, or anything like a relaxant or whatever, if you drink tea, that helps you relax. Like it just helps to change. Caffeine also lifts. Don't abuse it though, because it's such it's already so overly abused by. It is. But yeah, I've been in a lot of recording sessions where they drink alcohol, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of damaging. Because I'm a morning person. Oh, I didn't share that. I'm a morning creative. Are you a morning or evening? You work at night sometimes. It's a little bit of both. You power through. The only time less in the morning. The only time I don't really is the afternoon. There's like a 2 to 5. It's kind of like a dead zone for me. It's a dead zone, yeah. Yeah. I usually work from like 10 to 1. Yep. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to play with. Something happens about like when the sun goes down, where almost like the pressure comes off energetically, and then it's easier for me as well. If you think about the collective energy after sundown is people are not working anymore. Right. So the energy shifts into relaxing. So it kind of frees up that zone of frequency. Interesting. This is something we should probably just revisit every month. Okay. Because there are so many different angles that you can come at this from. Yeah. And I feel like we're starting to really have a lot to say. At a certain point, I feel like we can stop making these episodes so topical, and we can probably just like be like, all right, where's everybody at? Like, let's look at the Discord comments. Let's look at the YouTube.
Let's take our pants off and go to Target.
Let's look at the Instagram. We do now have a House of Herby pod Instagram if you want to follow us there.
Oh, yeah, we fucking do.
Because we're trying to find more direct ways to communicate with you and make sure that we're giving you the value that you're looking for from this podcast.
Yeah, and be able to just post a ton of clips all the time.
Yes, even the bad ones.
Yeah, well, fucking A, we love you guys. Thank you for listening. It's been, this was a fun one.
This is a great one.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
Good one.
Get in your flow state, okay? We're here to tell you once again.
Heavy flow.
We need your art, and we love you so much. We will see you next week.
See you next week.